Welcome back, Airbnb family. Today we are talking about ghost hosting. Now, what is ghost hosting? Why would you do it? Where should you? Where shouldn't you? What are the pros and cons of ghost hosting? Now, let me backpedal real quick, let you know I do not endorse this method of Airbnb hosting, but I've sat down with some of you Airbnb hosts who found me through this channel, and this is something that you do. This is something that I've seen other of you ask about. You're considering this technique. So let me protect you from yourselves and let you know exactly how far is too far, because one of our YouTube subscribers may actually even serve jail time in his attempt to impersonate me along his ghost hosting journey. So let's jump right to it. Ghost hosting 101. Essentially what it is in short form is person A has a lease or a property like a condo that has HOA rules, right? Either leases or HOA rules can tell you you cannot host, right? Sometimes even the city says you can't host. So person B, you, the Airbnb host, creates a Airbnb profile for the building, for the property, and you host out that property on behalf of person A, but because of that separation, the building and the HOA won't be able to find out exactly which property is being hosted, so they cannot find the person to punish them, right? This is the short form of ghost hosting. By using two strangers connecting, they cannot draw back the property listing to the property owner or leaseholder. Now, this is the clear con here, obviously. If person A gets caught allowing person B host, then person A gets in trouble, right? They can get a fine, they can get evicted, you know, all the good stuff. So this is dangerous for person A. And if the city does not allow Airbnb, then person B can also get a fine too. So you can get in trouble. Now, additionally, person B can get in trouble for fraud if you do it wrong. So let me tell you the story of Terry from Rice University here in Houston. He's a smart guy. Obviously, he went to Rice University. He had a lease in the same building that I had a lease in. I had a few properties in this building called Sky House. And he decided that he was going to copy my host profile and copy my Airbnb listings as closely as humanly possible on the front end, so that way they just look like duplicates of mine, in order to fool the leasing staff at the buildings, right? So when the leasing staff would go on Airbnb to try to find new listings, they would just overlook his because they just thought they were mine. And the leasing staff and I had already gone around a couple times on my legal right to Airbnb list, and I won that, so they stopped bugging me. So he thought he was just gonna ride on my success. The problem here is when you impersonate somebody in order to cause damage to another party or for your own financial gain, this is fraud. So I had to let Airbnb legal know, and now, of course, this could turn into a fraud charge against the guy and he could go to jail, which would be no fun for him. So when you copy another host's profile in order to hide your listings, that is fraud. Now, you also have to make sure that you don't lie to the building that you host in. So this is going to get brought up here in just another minute. So here are the things you should do to successfully ghost host and not get a fraud charge. Number one is you cannot take photos of listings on the inside, right? Because the furniture, the floor plan, all of these things can show the unique properties of your listing, and that can allow the building or the stakeholders to know exactly which unit is the one listed on Airbnb. You know, they could tell maintenance, hey, when you walk inside, we want you to check for this, this, and this the next time you do routine maintenance. If you see a blue carpet or a picture of a cat on the wall, blank, blank, they'll show the photos and say, if hey, maintenance, if you see this, let us know, whistle blow. The HOA could do the same thing. They're just trying to find out which building is violating their bylaws. So you cannot have photos that incriminate person A, number one. So you can take photos of the neighborhood and have stock photos and stuff like that, and that's the best that you can do. So pro tip with this is, because photos matter so much when guests book, you cannot have photos that oversell your property, right? So when somebody arrives, if they feel oversold and they arrive and the building's just not quite what it was in the photos, and your furniture is dilapidated and stuff like that, they will complain to Airbnb, they'll cancel or give you a bad review, and this of course will lead to an unsuccessful Airbnb hosting experience. So don't oversell with generic photos when ghost hosting. Number two is you need to communicate with the building, but you need to do it on behalf of your person A. So you need to create a new email account, like just a Gmail account, and make it so that way you can have the signature of that Gmail account be the same name and phone number as the leaseholder, but you are the one doing the communication on that person's behalf. right? So when you send a request for maintenance or a question or anything that you need for the building, they are of course assuming that they're talking to person A. You also need to BCC person A in their original email account, because they need to know everything that you're talking to the building about, because if the building calls them about an email that they don't know about, the person will be just like, what? And then you can get caught there. So that's another one. Third, when people check in, you cannot have them interacting with the staff, because they'll be like, hey, I'm an Airbnb guest for 1308 or some junk like that. And that means that that leaseholder will then get in trouble because the Airbnb guest incriminated them. Even in all my properties that I have the legal right to host on Airbnb, what I actually do is I tell them that you cannot communicate with the leasing staff and that the leasing office is not an amenity that you have access to. The reason why I do this is because if I keep my interactions between my Airbnb guests low with the staff of my buildings, there's less chance that they get irritated from constantly being bombarded by my Airbnb guests. And when it comes time for my lease renewals, I want my buildings to feel like it's easy to have my leases. That way they're happy to renew my leases when the time comes. So I try to just lower interaction between guests and the staff of the buildings as much as possible anyway. But when you're ghost hosting, zero communication is important. So choose an entrance that bypasses the leasing office, the leasing staff. Find a way to make the automated check-in something that the guests don't have to hit the staff up for. In addition, your check-in instructions have to be perfect. You can afford no errors when ghost hosting. So you might even want to initially make it so that way they actually meet a person in person. If you're ghost hosting, then you should be a professional Airbnb host minimum, which means you should afford yourself to meet these guests, to check them in, because you should be a full-time host representing person A. So to get started, meet with each person, try to make sure that you figure out the routine of checking in and checking out, and try to find this perfect system, and then automate it and say, okay guys, here's some photos of how you check in, here's the instructions, and make sure that your communication is good. Ghost hosting is definitely not a hands-off method, because you cannot afford that, all right? You cannot afford them to be confused about something, not be able to communicate with you, and then they go to the leasing office. It's happened before. So that email account, the photos, perfect check-in instructions, and then not committing fraud. That's all you need to know about ghost hosting. Now, again, like I said, person A can get in trouble if they get caught, and in certain cities, you can get a fine too. So this is not something that I recommend that you use in your arsenal, but of course, at the end of the day, there are people who want to get out of their leases early because they're moving to a different city and they're stuck with 6 months left on their lease, and they're looking for somebody to take it over. So there's a market to pick up these leases and ghost host. And you might just have found yourself in a situation already where you're ghost hosting and you just want the best practices. So you found the right video. Also, if you want to learn the right way to host, profitably, long-term, sustainable business, something that can grow, you're at the right channel. So subscribe to this channel for more content, and of course, hit the like button. Help this video get around so we can protect Airbnb hosts from hurting themselves by ghost hosting. Thank you again for watching Airbnb Automated. I will see you on the other side.